episode of the Senior Memories podcast. We have a limited selection of people because the others did not want to show up. I'm joined by Caleb Dale and Shawn Seck. And Shawn's going to start us off with a senior memory of his.
All right, so probably the most prominent senior memory I have is, I think it might have been sophomore year, but I was in a weights class of Coach Hill's, and Sarah Showalter was in that class. And so we're doing relays every Friday, and there was one relay where I think there was like 95 pounds on the bar, and all you had to do was walk with it or do something. But so Sarah Showalter had this barbell on her back, and she was walking, and while she's walking, she just face plants. And I felt bad, but at the same time, I couldn't stop from laughing just because how hilarious it was at the time. And then probably my second one just happened this year with Alex. So we were in Tallman's class. I was explaining to Tallman how to open Velcro silently. So what you do is you have Velcro, you put it together, and this is for when you're like in combat or something. You want to do it quietly so the enemies don't hear you. You just take it, and when you go to rip it, you go, ah! And I'm telling this to Tallman in his class, and Alex, sitting next to me, legit jumps out of his desk just about, and it's just...
I remember I was on the verge of like falling asleep.
It was probably one of the funniest things that ever happened.
Similar story for any long-time listener, long-time in quotes because we haven't been doing this for so long, but Alex sneezing.
Oh, yeah.
And making Logan fall right out of her chair.
Yeah, this was back when we were doing the audio podcasts.
Yes.
That was the one time I was...
Good old memories.
That was the one time I was disappointed we did not have video.
Just remember hearing, achoo! Ah!
We're going to have a compilation of all of Alex's sneezes throughout the podcast by the end of this, hopefully. Yeah, go ahead.
One of my greatest memories in high school was when, of course, Brett Myers passed away. Before he passed away, he used to always keep Icy Hot with him, put it on his back, and he texted me one day, and I was probably out skipping class doing something, and he said meet him in the bathroom, so I didn't, I just thought I needed help going to the bathroom or something, and he pulls Icy Hot out of his bag, and we ended up putting it on all of the toilet seats, except for the one in quote Brett said, don't put it on the handicap seat, that's where I sit. So put it on the two other stalls, and we did that in about fourth hour, I think, and I was going to the restroom in fifth hour, and didn't even think anything of it, I'm going to the bathroom, and next thing you know, there's this freshman, and he's just screaming bloody murder, and comes out of the stall and jumping up and down, his pants around his ankles, he just got underwear on, and I guess Icy Hot got the best of him. Probably another great high school memory, James and Nathan Rolling were messing around in Miss Het's old classroom where the Z-Lab's at now, and Nathan tackled James through the wall.
Yep.
And put a hole in the sheetrock.
I remember that. This was like the next month fixing?
Yeah, it was during baseball, and so James got attention, and he was a good first baseman, so we were out of first baseman for 2 games, and they spent the last month repairing the wall, so.
I never got to see that. I kind of wish I did.
It was interesting.
Yeah,
it was fun to watch. So now that you've both given your 2 minimum stories, if you have any others, you can go ahead and tell them now.
Well, something that sticks out to me is like freshman year is probably one of the funnest years I've had.
Most fun.
Nah, funnest, all right. But I didn't try that much freshman year, so grades and everything, but it was still fun. And probably the most fun thing about it was when we were in Pound's class, we had dramatic vocab, and it was me, Isaac, and Kobe, and we called ourselves the Dream Team. And just during dramatic vocab, we did the most outrageous and hilarious skits that we believed at the time. And there's just a couple, like I wish I could remember more of the skits that we did, but the one that sticks to me the most is where we wanted to do one vocab word, and we wanted to put Isaac in jail. But how we explained why we wanted to put Isaac in jail, she did not find it acceptable for us to do it. So she shot us down there. And then we also had to make an iMovie in our class. And I remember us being down in the math hallway over by Mrs. Williams' door, and we just were filming it, and like we're using a plastic spoon under a desk to dig a hole to the core of the earth. Don't know why, but that happened.
So what you're saying, we talked about this before the podcast. One of these podcasts, we need to bring the dream team in.
Yes, that would probably jog my memory of more moments that happened in that class, but dream
There's
team.
another planned podcast.
Another great memory I have. When did we get chemistry? Junior year of chemistry with Mr. Cooprider. Him and I always, just joke back and forth, got along. Well, we were coming about the first semester of finals, and there was only like 2 guys, I think, in our class, maybe 3, and I had him first hour of the day, and all the finals came around, and girls are being all dramatic, and you know how they are come final time. And so I sat at my desk, and I tried to work myself up to cry, and as soon as I started crying, all the girls felt bad for me, and Cooper started to make fun of all the girls, and so then it got turned around to all the girls being mad at me for dramatically making fun of them, and they never caught on until after Cooprider gave them the hint. But yeah, they're
Speaking of chemistry with Cooprider, so it was around prom time or before prom of last year, and we were in his chemistry class, and we were giving Mr. Ninestead some crap about all of his like stupid policies that we thought about at the time, and
that's Ninestead.
we were thinking about how.
Maybe one of the ones that is watching this.
Probably.
All right, I apologize, Mr. Ninestead, if you see this, but it was pretty funny at the time. So.
Your face just went like, oh goodness.
But so we were talking about how after prom should be at the Y or something, and that way we could be in the pool and everything. And I believe it was Alicia and Delaney. They were talking about how if it was with Mr. Ninestead, they wouldn't be allowed to wear swimming suits. Like you would have to be in full sweats and a sweatshirt, heavy clothes. And the one thing that I have ever got Mr. Cooper to laugh was, yeah, he wouldn't allow us to breaststroke either. And it was by far the funniest thing I've ever said in a class, and I probably should have got a standing ovation, but I didn't. But it was the one thing that Cooper has ever laughed at what I've said. So I was pretty proud of that moment.
We've had 4 years of high school now, and my sophomore year I was in weights class, and at that time we had the old weight room in the basement. And, there was quite a few of us that were used to lifting weights and stuff like that. Well, down there was only like 4 or 5 squat racks. Well, Kendall Boyer and Frank Bergmeyer were using one, and I don't know if they were super aware of how squat worked, but I think it was Kendall was doing like 225, and he was done with his reps, racked it. Well, Frank didn't know that if you took the 225s off one side, that it'll flip up. So everybody's just going along with their sets and what they're supposed to be lifting, and he pulled off the 225s, and the bar came up in the air and smacked the light, and it was fun. It was pretty dramatic, but it was funny, all in one. Some good times.
I'm about to ask both of them about that during lunch today.
Talk about squat. It was freshman year, and we were down in the old weight room. And Jasper Nisley, I was squatting with him at the time, and I think at the time we only had 135 on the bar for him. And I think we all know how when you squat, you got to have a wide base so when you go down. Well, Jasper Nisley, he takes his feet, puts them right next to each other with 135 on the bar. And, I noticed this. And, I could have done something to stop it. But going through my head, I was like, I should stop it. But, thinking about it, I was like, I want to see this play out. And so all I see is Jasper Nisley going down. And then he just falls on his butt. And it was pretty hilarious. I probably should have apologized or something, but it was just.
So the moral of the story is that Shawn is a good lifting partner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You encouraging them to tell their stories. Why don't you tell the story?
Yeah, you're a senior.
Yeah.
That's something you know about.
I've told quite a bit of stories on this podcast.
Sutherland stores.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
Hey,
a boy
speaking of which,
Go ahead.
you know, Ben's a great guy. If you're out there
Wonderful.
listening to this Wildcat podcast, we'd love for you to come back and not teach. You're a great man. You know, we always saw eye to eye. You always saw sunset to sunset. Dude was
24 hours.
he was just he's a goof. I mean, came to school and you know, I had him at this hour of the day, and I had Ari and Sierra in my class, and you know, that year we had Sutherland. I don't think we ever had a steady English teacher. So,
No, we never did.
So, you know, there's some of us that still don't know how to read, and you know that's the school's fault. But
Public education.
one day he was in class and you know, I always made fun of him and he never caught on. And 2 reasons why I liked the guy. You could blatantly make fun of him and he thought you were going with him. Like one day he asked if I wanted to teach a class, and so I got up there and I started snapping my fingers. And he always said we're just going to brainstorm and snap his fingers. So I did that for like 5 minutes. And he just laughed and he never said anything about it. Well, one day we were watching, what was the book we read in there?
Crucible.
The Crucible. We're watching the movie. And I don't know if you ever watched Crucible or read the book. I don't recommend it.
Well, if you can read a chapter within a week, then I think it'd be pretty good. If you don't stop
We're
every
supposed to
2
watch
words.
the movie, and he turns all the lights off, and I just, you know, I sleep, knocked out, and he walks past me, and he like shakes me a little bit, and he asked if I was sleeping. Dude had no common sense. You know, I said, yeah, and he goes, well, I didn't mean to interrupt your nap. You can continue. And at that point, I didn't know if I should shake his hand or go tell the principal. So, me being the person I am, I rolled over and went back to sleep. But the dude, I mean, who wears jeans and sandals?
That's a good point.
You know?
But
I mean,
the thing about the
now, Mr. Clemens, if you wear jeans and sandals, I'm sure you look magnificent. I
The
mean,
thing-
Oh yeah.
With
Only-
this-
only in the summertime.
and he'd always do this with his hair.
Mm-hmm.
Never during.
the thing with the
class.
jeans and sandals, never wore socks. Like if
Exactly.
you, like if you
Horrible
had-
looking toes. I mean,
Wait,
never got a
he didn't wear
pedicure.
socks?
No,
he
wore
wore
no socks.
Huh?
never wore socks.
Never wore socks.
Like if you had socks, it could be somewhat stylish.
Yeah.
But no feet are disgusting. I'm just gonna say
And
that.
he needed a pedicure because they were hairy, sharp toenailed. I mean, horrible.
I second that.
Yes.
And I mean, we could probably
Okay,
sit.
motion's been passed, I guess.
Well, we could probably sit in here and talk all day about Sutherland. I
Oh yeah,
mean, the dude is just a nut.
Yeah.
He, you know, and it wasn't so much he wasn't a. I don't know him outside of school. I know that on his Facebook blog he liked the cuss word.
he did.
He liked the F word a lot, but
He did.
French fries.
yeah, French fries.
Mm-hmm.
But he never caught on to when people were making fun of him. We'd have these so-called journals, and you write down a topic that you want to talk about that day, about 3-4 sentences, and
Wait, you got to choose your own topic?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta choose our own topic. Alicia told the one about how when she wrote Piano Man.
Yeah.
you know,
I thought it was just like. I thought it was something along the lines of like, what was it? Like there was a designated topic and you wrote about it.
No.
Yeah.
He just told us like we were designated like 5-10 minutes beginning of class to write a topic, or not write a topic, but write about what we wanted to write about, and then you get extra credit if you did more than the required for the week. Everybody had 150 in the class. It felt like.
Was this English or creative writing?
English.
it was kind of a study hall.
Yeah.
But, you know, and back to the point of the journals, you know, he would brainstorm, you know,
Constantly.
and he would ask what topic we wanted to talk about. And you could bring up the carpet and talk for hours. I mean, we brought up how people were kneeling in the NFL and school shootings, and we spent a week and a half every day in that class, the whole hour talking about school shootings and people kneeling.
I remember he would get really mad if you tried to change the subject to something that he said we were going to.
I actually remember this is a really great memory. Hannah Hayden was in my English class, and we were reading the Crucible, and somehow we got off the Crucible and got on like a topic not even about English, and Hannah Hayden, she raised her hand and she says, "Can we get back to reading the book, and he said, "No, we're not finished with our topic." And so Hannah Hayden's mom or dad ended up calling the school, and then Ben
Good old Matt
Sutherland,
Hayden.
like,
Everybody loves him.
yeah, probably wrote him a ticket for 5 over. But, you know, Mr. Sutherland then attacked Hannah about her parents contacting the school, and the dude just didn't want to learn, you know. I mean, Hannah Hayden didn't do anything in the wrong. She didn't say anything mean. She just simply
No.
asked, you know, can we get back to the book? And
Mm-hmm.
and he just rudely said no. And he just,
Can we go back to the lesson, please? No, I'm off topic right
Right.
now. Let's just keep going with that.
exactly, like, he never
Respect
made
my
any
authority.
sense.
Insert loud groan here. There we go. Alex will groan for me.
All right, Easton. So what were the stories that we kind of avoided you from? But
That's fine. I'm pretty sure I told this one, but on the subject of journals, I think it was on 9/11, and I wrote, you can all agree with this, how 9/11 changed Americans' view of, the Muslim culture, right?
absolutely.
100%.
He had that habit of writing he would give his opinion in your journal.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't go on to a next page. He turned my journal and kept writing, turned it upside down, kept writing.
So pretty much just bordered your whole.
Yeah, he
paragraph.
bordered my entire journal
Okay.
to call me a racist. He got so defensive. He said, like, how many Muslim people do you know? You don't know what they go through. I'm sitting here thinking, do you? Like,
Just a political thing.
yeah.
How people view people.
I'm not going to go into that because that's one of the rules in the podcast. We don't go too much into
politics.
politics.
Probably a
But,
good thing.
yeah,
I mean, everybody's got an opinion on politics, so, and there are 3 sides to every political opinion.
We got 3 people.
Yeah, if you really
but Sean, I'm pretty sure you and I think the same.
Well, I don't
would
know
believe that
much
we
about
have-
politics, so we probably shouldn't get on that. So, I don't know much about nothing besides sports and vehicles, so not your guy.
I remember last year, it was my first year with my first truck. I still have that truck. It's a piece of crap. It breaks down like every week.
It's because it's a Ford.
Yes, that is. I've been told that multiple times.
Found on road dead.
Yes. I remember it was fairly busy when I was getting ready to leave. Kyler Schmeier was behind me when he had that big truck.
Okay.
The Dodge?
Yeah. And what's her name? Lauren
Traeger. Wells.
the one who had the
Williams.
Beetle. The one I think it was Williams.
Oh, yeah.
She graduated last year. She was behind Kyler, and she had like the Bug, like the little Volkswagen Beetle.
Yep.
And Kyler's truck was so high up he could not see her.
Backed right into her.
That's not he did, but the why is hilarious. So this woman, she looked like she wants to see your manager. That's the only way to describe her. You can picture that pretty vividly. She pulls in this big SUV, and she's next to that third row end. I don't know where she's trying to go, but looks like she's getting ready to like T-bone him, but she stops and honks at him. And Kyler says that she flipped him off. And I'm looking out my back window, my rearview mirror, and I see him start backing up, and I can see Lauren's tire underneath his truck. I just see it go. It stays there for like 2 seconds, then just slowly falls back down. It was hilarious.
Back to, Kyler with that Dodge pickup. Last year during finals, we went to McDonald's. I drove separately. I would never let Kyler take my life in his hands.
No.
And Kyler parked beside me at McDonald's. And he left and backed over the curb, almost hit the telephone pole, pulls out in front of 2 semis, and his excuse was, I couldn't be late to school.
Well, you'll be late if you're dead. So
Well, it's like
prioritize this, but
take a nap on your way to finals. I wasn't in peak driving condition, and you told us to.
Another great memory, I would also like to give a shout out to Mr. Moore for the 5 snow days we've had so far. Those have been nice.
Yeah. I think that's more than we had last year already.
I think that's more than I've ever had in high school.
I just acknowledge that, yes. That's definitely more than we had last year.
I
I thought it was 4.
4 or 5.
whichever one. That's
still
more than
more.
we've ever had in my 4 years of high school.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of great stories at Haven. It's just a small school with a lot of great people.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
I don't know
and
if
great
you're being
teachers.
sarcastic or not on that.
No, I'm being honest.
Okay.
And we have like teachers like Mr. Cooprider, Tallman, Paramore. Those 3 guys, and Ashworth, of course. About the biggest goofs around. They joke around with you. And Tallman's pretty much a senior that's never got out of high school. and Cooprider's about the same way. He's just
a younger.
they just got big heads with nothing in them. I think. I mean, great teachers, but.
They're gonna watch this.
Speaking of Ashworth,
I know they love me.
Didn't Ashworth
that's
have
where-
his
that's
kid
where
last
you're now wrong.
Yeah, they love me.
Ashworth had his kid last week. We would like to give a congratulations to Mr. Ashworth. If for some reason you're watching this, don't know why, can we get a round of applause?
Sorry, I'm a loud clapper. All right.
That was more Alex.
No.
Also, shout out for the extra days on the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well needed. Much needed.
Very much needed.
But another memory that I have happened this year, and we're talking about great people, and Ryan Jenkins is like one of my best friends,
Mhm.
and we're playing capture the football, and like me, Logan, Caleb, and RJ cheated to be on the same team, so we just went to the right side, and sadly, once they realized how dominant of a team we were, they made me go to the other side, and I was like, I'm gonna make this comeback. Because we were beforehand, I was on the winning team. We were beating them like 50-0, and I was like, I'm gonna make this comeback with 2 minutes left in class. And so I had ran over, picked up the football, and I was running. And I was probably like 20 feet from the half line mark to get the 2 or 3 points it is when you run over. And all I see out of my peripheral vision is little RJ coming right at me. So at this point, I was like, how do I do this? How do I do this? So I lobbed the football over the line, and at that point, little RJ just comes into the side, trucks me, and pretty much throws me to the bleachers. And I was surprised how much power that kid was able to put on me. And
Isn't RJ a catcher for the baseball team?
yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you have to be pretty strong in order to play catcher.
I want to see him lay a kid out during baseball, running to home plate like he did me in that day of football, capture the football, because that was not a good day for me.
Yeah, basketball's been another great memory, as we also have game tonight. But
Good luck.
Yes, shout out to the Wildcat basketball team.
yeah, we've got a great group of guys. My senior year is pretty complete with those guys, and as Tallman and Paramore and Coach Dale stepped in, there's 3 great coaches. It's practice is always a pretty fun time, but the sophomore class is a bunch of great athletes. Really helped us out on the varsity team, and along with some of the junior kids. But I'll never forget, when I graduate or the season ends. Paramore we'll do drills, and Paramore will always, tell you what to do better. We do certain plays, and he'll tell you if you're not screening somebody right where to go. And Zane Jack who is an outstanding athlete for basketball. He sometimes gets confused in practice, and Paramore will try to explain it to him, and Zane just, instead of just saying yes sir or like I messed up, he's at the age where he tries to find an excuse, and so he stutters a whole lot, and it never leaves my mind that every time he does that, Tolman just yells, "Spit it out." And if that doesn't express Tolman's, and Tolman is a goofball. He's a great guy to be around.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great memories with him, during Spirit Week of homecoming and stuff, or FFA, they do the camo week, and he always wears a ghillie suit and stands out front of school by the trees and scares people. And like I
Nobody
said,
catches on.
Christmas.
yeah,
Nobody catches on.
yeah, he's a senior that just isn't graduated.
Yeah.
And shout out to Rachel Tallman for putting up with him.
Like you were talking about basketball, I know my freshman year I had played tennis, and tennis is probably one of my all-time favorite sports to play. I wish I played it more than just freshman year, but I didn't because I'm lazy. But so the tennis courts are right out there by the baseball fields, and so I get tired of tennis. I just start watching baseball, and so if you ever hit a ball over the fence of the tennis courts, everybody had to run a lap around the tennis courts, which isn't that bad. But when you have Shawn watching baseball, I'm just hitting home runs for the days at this point with tennis balls. I was the most hated kid on the team at that point just because I blamed it on my bad skills, but it was actually just my love of baseball.
You signed up, the rest of the team erased your name.
I was just making sure everybody was well conditioned,
Were they, though?
hopefully. I know my first tennis meet, I had lost every match except for one. And the one that I won was against the one guy that won the whole meet. So I like to think that I'm pretty much crowned champion at this point. Take it how you want it, but I'm champion.
All right. Caleb, do you have one more quick story, or you good?
No.
All right. That was the third episode of the Senior Memories podcast. Thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. If you would like to be on the fourth episode, sign up outside of Mr. Clement's door, and please stick to your plan.
Where's the sign up sheet? I'll sign up.
Or you
right
get
now.
me and Caleb again.
I was
And
gonna say.
always talk to your teacher.